You can be happily living your life and then suddenly, bam, something happens that you didn't expect and isn't in your control, and suddenly your life feels like it's falling apart. So if this is you and you're really struggling to cope, then stick around because I have 5 psychological strategies based on the science of acceptance and commitment therapy, compassion-focused therapy, and mindfulness approaches that are going to help you navigate this difficult time. Welcome, I'm Dr. Liz White, a consultant clinical psychologist with over 20 years experience in helping people with their mental health, especially OCD and anxiety. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't already. We can all feel like our lives are spinning out of control when something unexpected happens that we weren't prepared for. Whether that's failing an exam or a relationship breaking down, losing a job, a house fire, a car accident, the list could go on and on. Or maybe there have been lots of little things over a period of time that have just built up and you've reached your tipping point. I just can't cope with this. And when we find ourselves there, we are suddenly stressed, anxious, perhaps low in mood, feeling hopeless and helpless and unsure what to do. It can be so hard to feel like this, but here are some psychological strategies that can help. So firstly, manage anxiety down. When something bad happens in our lives, the threat system in our brains will be activated and will be in a state of fight or flight. When we are in an anxious state like this, we are unable to think logically and rationally. The whole point of the fight or flight response is to get our bodies primed to either run away from something or fight the threat that's facing us. But in modern life, we rarely come across woolly mammoths like our ancestors would have done. And if there's a problem that has shown up in your life that you need to deal with, you're going to have to problem solve it in some way. But when you're in fight or flight mode, when you're in that stressed threat state, that's going to be very difficult. So it's super important to try and manage that threat response down. And there are 2 ways that you can do this. First, find your anchors. Now, anchors are anything that help promote a sense of calm and soothing when you are weathering that emotional storm that can happen when we're dealing with some difficult stuff in our lives. And anchors can promote a sense of groundedness and centeredness. So it could be as simple as a simple breathing exercise or cuddling your pet, getting under a weighted blanket, lighting your favorite scented candle and watching the flame flicker. Anything that helps bring you a sense of calm. So try and work out what your anchors are and experiment with a few of them to see which one helps promote that sense of calm. Second, find your soothing rhythm. Now, this is a breathing practice that helps activate the part of your brain that's responsible for something called the soothing system or the rest and digest system. And when you're using that part of your brain, you are feeling calm and grounded and centered. So I will be doing a video of a soothing rhythm breathing practice, and once I do, I'll put the link in the description. But you can start now just by slowing your breathing down. Now, the trick to this is that it has to be slower than your usual breathing rate. So you would bring your attention to your breathing, and sometimes it helps to focus on a particular aspect of your breathing. So that could be the rise and fall of your chest and shoulders, or the sensation of the air going into your nose and out through your mouth. But focusing on your breathing, you would slowly inhale, hold the breath for a moment, and then slowly exhale. Do this for a few minutes each day, and that will help promote a sense of calm and soothing and move you out of that anxious state. Now, if something has happened in your life unexpectedly that's difficult to cope with, it's really natural that your mind is racing with future focused worries or what ifs. Now, I talk more about this in a video about overthinking, so do go check that out. I've put the link in the description. So take Anna, for example. Anna found out that her fiancé has cheated on her, and this is understandably causing a lot of distress and upset. She is now unsure of whether she should end it with him and not get married to him. And she's really getting stuck in worries about, what if I end it and I regret it later? What if I never find anyone else and end up alone? And what if I get into another relationship and they cheat on me too? Now, in this scenario, we can see that Anna is getting really caught up in fantasies and theories about what might happen in the future. And this is just not helpful for Anna, especially when she's trying to make a decision about whether to stay in the relationship or not. What is more helpful for Anna is if she can recognize that that is what her mind is doing, that she's getting stuck in what ifs, and focuses more on the facts of the situation. Her fiancé has cheated and she needs to decide what to do. Now, if this sounds familiar, if your mind is racing with lots of what ifs, then try and write down all of the what ifs that are showing up and the facts of the situation. And this will help you step back and see the situation more clearly. Now, another way of doing this is by doing a mindfulness exercise like leaves on a stream. And I'll link the video that I did on this, but it's very effective in helping you observe your thoughts. So feel free to check it out. Number 3 is validate and honor your feelings. Now, it makes complete sense that when something bad happens in our lives, when it's something unexpected, or we haven't experienced it before, we're going to have strong emotions. Let's face it, there's going to be pain and distress. So acknowledging this and validating those feelings is so key. It's understandable that I feel like this. It's okay that I'm not okay. And you'll actually increase stress and anxiety and distress if you invalidate yourself. Let's take the example of Bob. Bob is a middle-aged man. He has 3 kids. He's married to a wonderful woman. Out of the blue, he was marched into his boss's office and told that he no longer has a job. This was a real shock for Bob because he works really hard and he thought his job was secure. Now, once the shock of losing his job started to wear off, Bob found that he was spending many hours of the day in bed. He felt really low in mood. He didn't have any motivation. He felt really hopeless about the situation. He was barely eating or drinking. He used to go running because he loves running and he hasn't done that in weeks. Alongside that, he can't sleep because he feels so anxious about what's going to happen to his family and whether they'll lose the house. He truly feels like his life is falling apart. Now, we can't escape the fact that the road ahead for Bob and his family is going to be a difficult one. But if Bob spends his time beating himself up, criticizing himself for what's happened, and for how he is responding to that by staying in bed and sort of checking out of the family, that is not going to help him. That is going to pull his mood down further. But what Bob really needs is support from his family and friends, but also support from himself. You know, how can Bob be a friend to himself in this situation? Instead of criticizing himself, he could be saying things like, do you know what? It's really understandable that I feel like this. I think anyone in this situation would feel the way that I feel. So the 4th strategy is you choose how you respond. Something that has helped me when life has thrown me some curveballs that I wasn't expecting is to shift my mindset a little. It's really easy to focus in on the fact that you don't have control over the thing that's happened, but you do have control over your actions in response to the thing that's happened. Let's go back to Bob. Bob is feeling helpless. He's feeling hopeless. He doesn't know what the future brings. He's feeling very anxious as well. He knows that he can't get his old job back. He knows that he doesn't have any control over that situation. But at the moment, he's choosing to stay in bed, to shut the world out because of how bad he feels. But of course, we know that staying in bed, putting your head in the sand like that isn't going to help in the long run. And Bob knows that too. What he actually needs to do is to find a new job. So a better, healthier choice would be for him to start looking for a new job. The thing is, when you feel depressed, when you feel low in mood, something like that can feel very, very overwhelming. So another choice that Bob could make is thinking in terms of what's the smallest step that I could take towards getting a new job. And that might be something like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to go for a run. And if I can't run, I'm going to walk. And if that feels too overwhelming, then you may start even smaller by spending a little less time in bed and slowly but gradually building up the time that he spends out of bed during the daytime. So here's the thing to remember, that every little mini step that you take adds up over time, and it moves you in the direction that you want to go in. Number 5 is problem solving where you can. So problem solving involves taking stock, assessing the situation. Where do I have influence in this situation? So let's go back to Anna, who was cheated on by her fiancé. So Anna can't change the fact that her fiancé has cheated, but she can communicate the impact that the cheating is having on her. She can also assert her boundaries by saying, cheating is not something that I accept in a relationship, for example. So whilst she can't solve the problem of her fiancé cheating, she can develop an action plan to help her navigate the aftermath of his cheating. So for example, she may decide that she actually needs some space away from him for a few days or a few weeks to help her process what's happened. Or she may decide to spend time with friends and family and take their advice and get their support. Or she may decide that actually she wants to go to couples therapy with her fiancé and to try and work it through that way. So I hope that's given you some useful ideas on how to cope when you feel like your life is spinning out of control. It is so difficult when life feels like this. So I would always recommend to someone that they seek out professional help if they feel like that would be a useful avenue to them. Until next time.